Alright everybody, back for another edition of Fat Daddy Eats, and what Fat Daddy's going to show you today is how to make some redneck bread. It's pretty simple. I've got 4 cups of all-purpose flour here. The thing that takes the longest is letting everything set up. In that 4 cups of all-purpose flour, I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm going to get some hot water, not hot, but 100 to 110 degree water. Alright, so I'm going to look at this, and that water is 108.5 degrees, which is perfect for fermenting some yeast. So I'm going to take 2 teaspoons of sugar and put in my water. I'm going to stir this in a little bit. Then I'm going to take a pack of yeast, which this is 2 teaspoons of yeast in this package. Stir in the yeast, let that yeast and sugar get activated with that warm water. And what you're looking for in this process is, you see this little bit of foaming that's going on, just a little bit. Your water's getting cloudy because your yeast is reacting with that sugar. And you'll see the bubbles in the middle here. It's starting to foam, it's starting to ferment. So I know my yeast is good, it is activated. So in the bowl we go with the sugar and the yeast and the water, into the flour and the salt. And now we're going to stir this up. Now that I'm getting it kind of like this, it's time to be done with this spoon and get our hands in there. Now we're going to cover this and let it sit for about 2 hours. We're just going to cover it with a dish rag like that. And we'll let that sit for 2 hours. And then once we've done that, we will come into the second part of the video. What we'll end up doing is we'll uncover it, we'll look at it, we'll let it rest for another 30 minutes. While we're doing that, I will heat up a loaf pan, or I'll heat up the oven to 350. I will line the pan that I'm going to put the bread in with butter, and then put it on top. And then I'll melt a little bit of butter and brush on the top and put it in the oven and let it cook for about 40 minutes. And that's basically going to be it. Redneck bread. So here we are, we time traveled 2 hours. This is what our bread looks like after sitting there for 2 hours. We're going to pull it out, and if you'll look over here, I have a loaf pan that I have greased up with butter. Pull out my dough, and into the loaf pan we go. And we're going to let it rest here for another 30 minutes, but we're going to leave it uncovered. While we got that going, we'll be preheating our oven to 350 degrees. And in about 30 minutes, we'll put it in the oven, and we'll end up with a little loaf of bread. Alright, so what y'all can see is just from that 30 minutes of putting it in this pan, it has risen even more in this pan, that last 30 minutes of letting it through 3 dabs of butter on the top. And into the oven we will go. We'll look at it in about 35 minutes, but I usually cook it about 40. And y'all will see it with the miraculous time travel that we can do on YouTube. It's going to be right. That, we're done. Now what we need to do is we're going to pull this bad boy out, get it out of the loaf, and set it on a rack and let it cool for 20 minutes before we cut. And y'all will see how our bread turns out. Let's let this thing cool on the rack for 20 minutes. Redneck bread. Alright, let's see how we did. Looks like bread. Butter on there. And then look, I'm gonna hand this. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take that from him. Producer Ryan.
It's our bread.
Tastes like bread.
It's good bread though.
Good deal. Redneck bread. All right. There we go, folks. Well, if you ain't gonna finish it, I am. I ain't hating that.